It's nice to see all of us here. Now, this National Education Policy 2020 needs to be implemented properly, because last time in our discussion, we had seen that how the implementation is coming up and what is the policy exactly. So now it is the term, and we are going to discuss that how it is going to get implemented and what are the effective measures that the school needs to take when the things are going to take up in such a big, huge, humongous way. So here's what the schools need to do now to begin with the NEP 2020 into the education process. And this NEP 2020, when we talk about the keywords about it, it is a visionary, it is practical, it is progressive and very comprehensive. It has a wide ambit from early childhood to higher education, professional education to vocational education, and teacher training to professional education. So it is all inclusive. Constructivism is everywhere in its every corner. So many government and non-government surveys done in the last several years had hinted at the precarious state of our learning crisis in India. And yes, we call it as a learning crisis. Before implementing NEP, there were many survey systems that were organized and were exercised so that we can exactly know that what is the requirement that we have to bring in this upcoming changes. However, the true picture emerged after the National Achievement Surveys and the survey report that is called the NASS Report was undertaken by the National Council of Educational Research and the Training that we know as NCRT, which was ably supported by the Union Ministry of Education also. And the survey was aimed to understand that how effectively the school system is working in the country based on the student learning system. So it was conducted across the country on November 13th, 2017. Yes, 2017 for the classes of 3rd, 5th, and 8th in the government and government-aided schools as well. It was by far the largest assessment survey conducted in the country and is also known as one of the largest conducted in the world. Yes, definitely, because again, looking at the population and the huge mass that India occupies. Now, the findings stated that the students across 12 states scored significantly below the national average in mathematics ability. So NASS identifies learning as a big challenge facing Indian education. So the next few years are critical as India could lose 10 crore. Yes, I want to put emphasis on this number, 10 crore or more students because of the learning losses and that will lead to illiteracy unless proper action is not taken soon. And I think this measure is already being taken. We all are a part of the schooling system. So we all are aware that CBSE has already introduced the 2 options. If you are interested in maths, then you can take up maths as your standard. And if you don't have any intentions to carry maths into your future career aspirations or your projections for your further and higher studies, you can take maths basic. So this has already been taken care of. So slowly things after the survey report, whatever flaws we could find it out, CBSE is trying to make it up very fast so that the NEP implementation, the target years of 2025, 2030 we should beat it. So now here the question comes that how to successfully implement the NEP. Now, if we go point-wise, we can always understand few things. Now, to implement this NEP successfully at all levels, the government will need to create stakeholder incentives so that the implementation is smooth and uniform. And to make this stakeholder incentives, I would like to give the example of the school ecosystem. So like what we see now, because of our little step, which is against Mother Nature, we are seeing so many changes. So in the same kind, in the school is also an ecosystem, which is having all the stakeholders, the students, the parents, the owners, the teachers. So all these stakeholders, if they are not given the proper incentives and the proper care is taken, then the ecosystem will always fall into an era of unbalanced precedencies. So, we need to take a great care to create the stakeholder incentives, and that NEP is doing, and every school has to keep this in concern. Now, formulating instruments in the form of legal, policy, regulatory, and institutional mechanisms are must. Unless and until it has a legal sanction, the things will not happen. And we all have experienced that staying in India. Then it comes of building reliable information repositories. When I'm talking about repositories, starting from virtual, physical libraries to book authors, everything is coming under the same. Diksha portal is also coming under the same. All the resource materials that are provided by the CBSE is also falling under this category. So building reliable information repositories are must. Then we can talk about the developing of adaptability across the HEIs, regulatory bodies, and the government agencies also. Only then this implementation can happen. So these are all the eligibility criteria, the prerequisites that we have to think. Mentally, we have to create that boundary that these are the requirements and we need to adopt so that NEP can be executed and implemented in the way that we are dreaming. We have put down into the pen and paper, explicitly maintained. Then comes your developing the credibility through transparent actions and participation of all the stakeholders. Yes, when we are talking about a healthy growth of a school ecosystem or an education ecosystem, then we have to see that there are transparent actions and there is participation from all the stakeholders. That is a must condition. Then developing some sound principles of management. If the principles of management are not mentioned, are not created, are not written down explicitly, then also it becomes difficult to follow. So it is always easy, rather, yes, easy to follow instructions. So that is what we have to create, that management system also. Next, we can talk about the schools that will actually need to redefine the teaching and the learning process for the proper implementation of this NEP 2020 to actually witness a trajectory of transformation for a phenomenal outcome. Yes, we all are waiting. Changes to be seen in the educational policy, and that too with this huge, humongous mass of population. Yes, a phenomenal outcome. So for this, it is all required that we need to see that the school is getting ready, the school ecosystem, all the stakeholders are getting ready to accept it wholeheartedly. Schools need to focus on the literacy and the numeracy skills in order to get a remarkable metamorphosis in the reading, writing, and speaking skills of the children up to class 3. It is not a condition of to class 3 because all our languages, which is taught in the schools till grade 12, we are seeing that the reading, writing, and speaking skills are always given more importance and emphasis so that the students can have it in a better way. So that we have to focus more. And numeracy skills, yes, as we discussed about the mathematics standard and mathematics basic, now we have to put more emphasis to this junior classes where the number skills, numeracy skills need to be taken care of. Emphasize on practical and experimental learning, which will lead to instilling the 21st century skills of creativity and critical thinking in the children. That is important. So as a school, as teachers, as the stakeholders of the school, like the principals, the owners, they have to keep it in mind that whatever they're doing, they're introducing the new policies of this education. Experimental learning needs to be there for every, irrespective of any subject. Language, literature, math, science, social science, everywhere it is required. And that's the reason why now you could see a reversed Bloom's taxonomy. So these are certain things that these changes are being now registered and we are taking it further and ahead. Next, if we are going to talk about the prerequisites, we'll be talking about encouragements. Children will be encouraged. They should be encouraged to take multidisciplinary projects for better learning outcomes, and that has to be. And many schools, they have taken up also interdisciplinary projects, correct? So that also brings a lot of prerequisites that are required by the NEP, that is understood by the NEP system to be there in the already existing Indian educational system. Vocational training, vocational or skill-based learning should be included right from grade 6. And we had seen that how the schools have taken up artificial intelligence, data learning, data science, coding. All these subjects are already introduced. And many schools, they have already taken up these courses from grade 6. So these are all the prerequisites. The assessment, one of the most important elements in this ecosystem of schools, that is the assessment. The assessment, as I said earlier, needs a complete revamp, and it is happening. The assessment should not define a child in terms of marks, but should be an outcome of a qualitative analysis of the child. So there we need it. And the experimental learning process and everything is going to help us. There needs an integration of technology in education with the component of digital literacy and scientific temper. And we saw all this during this pandemic, that how the integration of technology had helped us running the schools, keeping the students abreast with their course curriculum and completing the portions. Assessments are happening, everything is happening. Only the brick and mortar building is missing out. Teaching is happening, your assessments are happening, activities are happening, experiments are happening, everything is happening. So that integration of technology in education is sure and must. So that is also a very important prerequisite. We never know what is there in our unforeseen future. Teachers, one of the most important stakeholder of this ecosystem, should be encouraged to take up bilingual as study. Shows that the children pick up different languages quickly in the early ages. So I think all of you must be aware that but till class 5, education is going to get imparted in the mother tongue, if possible, and they are making it compulsory, kind of compulsory. I will not use the word mandatory here, but yes, option is there that till grade 5, the mother tongue can be used to teach the children. And this NEP, which is designed to ease the burden of classroom teaching and examination on students, will play an important role in creating the future of the country. Its success, however, lies in the uniform and transparent implementation at all levels. That is important, and that is the most important prerequisite when we are talking about its implementation or adopting it into our own school ecosystem. That is uniform and transparent implementation at all levels with an equitable distribution of resources. When you go in Bangalore from one corner to another, you will find all grades of school, all calibers. So that equitable distribution of resources, we need to see. This mammoth task can be realized only when there is 100% cooperation and collaboration between the central, state government and the Ministry of Education. And I know it is happening. It will happen, because that is how we have planned the future of changing the educational system of India. And hence, as Ms. Lucy had already told, that we need to climb up the ladder. Now we are at the 7th ladder rank. So we need to go up to that first, equalizing our educational system to that of the Western educational style. So yes, I do think that I have covered most of the points while we are talking about the prerequisites that are required to make our educational system, NEP, getting adopted by the schools or the school ecosystem.